There aren't too many things as bad as being stuck on the road with your Subaru WRX in limp mode while you're waiting for the tow truck, except for all the muscle car guys going by you and revving as loud as they can just to celebrate your JDM lifestyle, and it sucks. Waiting on the side of the road definitely gives you a lot of time to think. Unfortunately, my car was down. It was stuck in limp mode. There was nothing I could do to get it back to the house. Every time I started it up, it just lit up like a Christmas tree. And anytime you went over about 2,000 RPM, it just died out. So, you know, what do you do when you're just left with some case like that, or you can't get back home? Just call the tow truck before you ruin anything else. Definitely, if you don't know what the problem is, definitely call a tow truck and get your car towed to your house, but most likely a shop, a tuner shop, or somebody that you trust with your car, even Subaru if you're thinking that you have a blown motor or something like that. Luckily for my case, it wasn't that bad. I kind of knew what the issue was before going out on a drive. Long story short is I blew a hole in my charge pipe. This is completely my error. It was how I installed the charge pipe. So basically it was rubbing against the radiator fans, and after about 2.5 years of doing that, it finally rubbed the hole into the aluminum charge pipe coming up from the turbo. So that was my problem. That's where all my issues were. And I was just idiotic and naive to think that I could fix this myself with some epoxy. I cut out a size of aluminum pipe, like in a square, and then I cut out the weak part of the charge pipe and tried to fix that with aluminum epoxy. And as soon as I got into some boost, boom! It was really stupid to run the car like that, but that's just what I did. I can't take it back. It's definitely a learning experience. So yeah, the lesson here is pretty much for me, and for, might help some people out there, is to recheck your work. I did that install myself, and I just didn't go back and check it after time, make sure everything with the modifications were right and there was plenty of clearance. So yeah, I made that mistake, and that's what led me to being on the side of the road. But yeah, it's definitely hard to be on the side of the road with your Subaru, man, because you just get a lot of thoughts about the dreaded part out. And I can definitely see the appeal while you're waiting for the tow truck. And you're freaking embarrassed, first of all, because you're driving a newer car and you've got it stuck on the side of the road. You don't see too many of the 15s and plus on the side of the road. But yeah, it's definitely not a good feeling for sure. Some of the warning signs this was happening is just the car was making louder intake noises. If some of you guys have the aftermarket intake, it sounded a little bit like that. But since the stock intake is in here, it was getting even louder, and then you could hear the blow-off valve even more, and the flutter, stuff like that. So those were my warning signs that I knew I had an issue, and I eventually decided to go investigate. This was a Saturday morning. I went in there, and then I finally looked on the charge pipe and the radiator fan, and then you could see kind of that blow-by that was blowing out from the charge pipe. It was kind of like an oily residue, but it was real dirty since it'd been doing it for a while. And so I was like, okay, this doesn't seem too bad. There weren't really any places open to weld it for me. So, that's where I came up with the solution to try to epoxy it myself. That didn't work. I took it out that Saturday on the highway. It blew that piece off that I tried to epoxy on. and I had it towed back to the car, or sorry, I had it towed back to my house. So from then, I was trying really hard. I was trying to hit people up on the Facebook groups. I was trying to hit up my friends, like, hey guys, you know anybody that has a charge pipe? Really in dire need of one, because Monday, come Monday, I got to go to work. I don't want to burn up some sick days just because, I didn't check something on my car. So Sunday comes around, I'm like, okay, can't really get anything overnight for a charge pipe. I decided, okay, let's just go look online and look for a better option than the epoxy. But then we found welding rods, aluminum welding rods. So I've done some soldering with circuit boards and video cards, stuff like that. So it felt pretty comfortable. Like it seemed like the same process as soldering or brazing. So, I cut that hole out in a square, got my chunk of aluminum, make sure that was sanded down, ground the paint off around the area and the part. And then this is actually the brazing job that I did for the charge pipe. So this actually worked really well. I was surprised that, that welding rod was maybe $4 or something like that. I had to buy another can of gas to heat up the pipe and then stick the aluminum rod onto it. But yeah, it really wasn't that bad. You do have to watch out to make sure you don't have any holes or anything like that. But honestly, this is a temporary solution. This is not a long-term fix. So I had this working, I tried it out on the car, I went back out, and hope that I wouldn't have to have my car towed again, because then at that point, you're looking at quite a hefty bill for having your car towed in 2 days. But anyway, it ended up working out really well, and I was really happy with the way this went. But at the same time, it's ugly as hell, You do have a part that's a point of failure, possibly down the road. And I just reached out to Process West. They were lucky enough to be like really cool about it. They actually sent me another one from Australia, the charge pipe itself, just this lower part. So I've got that in the car. It's back running normal, and I made sure this time it wasn't rubbing the radiator fan shroud. So there's no rub there at all. I checked the rest of the charge pipes. I went in through and checked a few other things. So yeah, for you guys out there, make sure you check your charge pipes and make sure they're not rubbing anything. This aluminum will rub away after time. So yeah, hopefully that helps some of you guys out there avoid being stranded on the road and pretty much muscle cars just revving out in front of you, and yeah, definitely a lesson learned. So thanks guys, catch you on the next one.